And so begins the final act. OOO gives Forrest a ride to U2's place, by which I mean a parking structure which isn't U2's place because they lost the set. In said parking structure, Bono, The Edge, and Fjersengard try to out-ham each other. As this goes on, Pajama Sam stares blankly into space, coming to his senses only several hours later after shouting, "Watership Down wasn't about rabbits, they were people, man!" Okay, I'm back to normal. Hey Bono, I was wondering if you could explain to Fjersengard the plot. Bono answers, what does he sound like?
Sure thing, buddy. You see, there's these evil scientists you might have already seen. You see, they're evil and want to take over the world. To do so, they stole magic OOO metals from the future, some of those space monster drug switch things, and the space monster USB drives that me and the Edge used to fight against. Oh, and forgive my explanatory visual cues for taking a sidetrack to confirm that there's one good evil scientist who gets killed off. For you see, she thought that the unholy union of evil powers from each of our series would be used for good. So Hugo Weaving has to kill her off, and we have to watch, because even though none of us know this character, it makes Hugo seem slightly more villainous.
Yes. The Edge chimes in. Just so, old bean. Of course, it's been way too more than 30 seconds since we've seen some action, so our heroes get attacked. By evil scientists, of course. So the Edge tells Fjersengard and Pajama Sam to get out of there. Go on, lads. It's time for you two to stop this lot to poo glue.
Oh yeah! Bono is ready!
And so our heroes all get on their motorcycles, and the villains politely only chase after U2, because they heard every word of that. And if the villains also just split up, it would have hurt the Edge's feelings. So Pajama Sam and Fjersengard ride to the roof of the parking structure, straight off of it, and yes, of course, straight through two choppers which were hailing bullets and missiles on them. We don't see them land, but considering that they were completely unscathed as they went through those choppers, I think they'll be fine. Speaking of minor details, U2 have lost their motorcycle. Somehow. Actually, I don't know why they got on that motorcycle in the first place if they were gonna do that sacrificial dwarf thing from Lotus Wars. Alright, requisite shot of riders riding. Well, now merged as Kamen Rider W, U2 taunt their foes with words along the lines of Einstein, look behind. You go wrong way. You fool, I say. Or at least that's what I heard. And then U2's theme music starts to play. U2 makes the most of it by turning their last real contribution to the film into the best fight scene. They take out 4 sub-bosses at once, using only their wits, a big metal pole, satanic fire conjuring, and a couple of guns. Riding their fellow double uvula riders' wave of badass, Fjersengard and OOO's themes start to play too as they raid the enemy's warehouse. What's that? How did they find it? Did you not hear me? Theme songs were playing. Christ me, keep up. Anyway, OOO takes first turn to tear through some villainous grunts to his theme music. He changes forms as Pajama Sam's do, shouting repeatedly as he fights Seiya, presumably his favorite saint. And he says it more times than, Liam Neeson says, "I'm sick and tired of these motherfucking wolves and this motherfucking gray." Well, once it finally gets to Fjersengard's theme, he fights the remainder of the grunts, but like the third O and OOO, it's unavoidably kind of disappointing by then. More so because that theme gave Hugo Weaving time to take off in his rocket ship. Did I mention he has one of those? Well, he does! And of course, it's not one of those ones from the future where you could maybe hide it. It's one of those normal ones which take 1,000,000 tons of fuel and really you couldn't possibly hide. Okay, I'm willing to pretend that's how our heroes really found the place. But as I said, Hugo Weaving's taking off, apparently very slowly. Luckily, Fjersengard happens by a place where... stick with me. There's an inconspicuous briefcase, so he opens it to... he's the good influence writer. He opens it for perfectly good reasons that have nothing to do with seeing if there's money inside. And what he sees inside is a bunch of switches and medals with the faces of old Kamen Riders. Oh man, these are completely useless! Hey, wait a minute! These are like the medals Pajama Sam uses. And these are like the space switch things that I use. And there's Marcellus Wallace's soul! Maybe this briefcase is alright. So you can probably guess what happens next. Fjersengard takes the switches and medals to OOO. Oh smacks him for thinking those would be useful, and then they try him out anyway because Oh thinks they're kinda cute. Naturally, these baubles summon the riders with the faces they have, for the perfectly good reason that, you see, they were trapped in that form because, well, they're summoned now. The first 7 Kamen Riders, from Rider 1 to Rider X. He was bad at Roman numerals. The 7 take on some old evil science clones of old costumes from OOO and U2 shows, while OOO and Fjarsengard move on to face Hugo Weaving, who's been gradually escaping now for several millennia. Except on their way, Shamu warps in from the future. He's here to say that he's actually Fjarsengard's son, and space vampires are about to crash his wedding. No. That was another thing. He's here to give Pajama Sam some more of those magic future medals, cause in the future he'll find out he gave them to Sam, so he had to go back to the past, which is to say the present, and do that. After telling Sam to give his best to the princesses, Shamu goes to wedge in a bit more screen time with Riders 1 through X, who each do their bit of fighting for 10 seconds or so. Meanwhile, at the same time, Fjarsengard rockets OOO onto Hugo Weaving's ship, which is finally Hugo leaving the Earth's surface. Once inside the shuttle, Pajama Sam and Fjarsengard face off with Hugo. Alright, apparently breaching the shuttle wasn't an issue, and they're in one of those new ones where there's no G-force and the ground's completely stable during takeoff. Also, amazingly, Hugo didn't die of old age in the time it took the ship to take off. The 3 fight, of course, but Hugo Weaving's too fast with his Hugo Weaving for either of our heroes to land a hit. He even seems to teleport, prompting Pajama Sam to ask, "Hugo, my friend, are you stopping time? You're tearing us apart!" Speaking of, Fjarsengard gets tossed overboard. He falls hundreds of feet to the ground, of course unscathed, but the ship's too high for him to fly on his own back to, even though both in the first episode to his show and earlier in the movie he flew to space on his own. So instead of that, Fjarsengard drives his motorcycle off a ramp into the upper atmosphere, jumps off his motorcycle, and shoots the ship with a bat grappling hook that he might pull himself up to it. I'm sorry, I meant a space grappling hook. Around here, Pajama Sam figures he should try some of those magic future medals that Shamu gave him. The resulting transformation looks really crappy, but with them he too has the power to stop time. So Hugo has lost the upper hand, except for the upper hand he had of being much stronger. They take the fight outside the ship, because it's also one of those ones where you can just stand on top of it no problem while it's flying. But wait, Hugo Weaving's evil scientist cape has become a giant boomerang! Alright, you get a cape when you turn into a really evil scientist. Fjarsengard, who's there now, counters this with terrible CG flight. Oh hey, guess he remembered he can fly pretty much anywhere without limitation. Well, the boomerang somehow didn't work, so Hugo's plan B is to melt the riders with pure energy. But wait! The energy is Gekiganger 3's, cause he absorbed that, I don't know if I mentioned. And instead of melting Fjarsengard, her robot slime girl's soul helps Fjarsengard to absorb and redirect the energy against Hugo. After that, OOO and Force double kick Hugo, finishing him off and say-ya-ing us straight to the credits. Though some epilogue plays out while they roll him. See, the robot slime girl's soul explains that she was glad to be alive-ish for the short time she did nothing but parrot others. So that makes her death-ish less sad-ish. And OOO's supporting cast is just happy that they're in the movie, unlike U2's. U2's alright with it though, they still got the coolest fight after all. Oh yeah, and Fjarsengard beats the brain-dead girl his robot slime girl copied. He's in a less creepy and more smooth kind of mood though, so he just walks off all cool-like without saying a word. His friends aren't as smooth though, so they give Fjarsengard a really white version of the Black Power salute. And after the credits, my god, some mysterious fishman rider with a Starfield suit. What's up, bitches? Am I late to the movie? What a cliffhanger, I hope we find out who that is. And that's the movie. My thoughts? On what, blue robot slime girls? Sorry, but that's just sick. I'll stick to yellow, red, and purple robot slime girls, thank you very much. A fan favorite, Kamen Rider Black, was going to be put in this film, but sadly his whiteness confused test audiences. Now the reason I don't use proper names but my own is because I try to give a bit of perspective in these recaps. Not really, it's just because I have a stupid sense of humor. But were more names like the ones in this film, maybe I wouldn't have to do that. Here are the actual names of the villains of this movie. Dustard, Mutamit, Yummy, Dummy, Greed, and Horoscopes, which is the singular. A Horoscopes is attacking. I can't make light of perfection, damn it. What do I do with those? Oh yeah, and somewhere around everyone's theme song playing, there's a clear shot of the license on OOO's motorcycle. It's 3478. Doubtless elite anagram for bait, as being a hobo, Pajama Sam is confused about what constitutes a masturbation gag. And that's about all, I think. So next time it's U2's, really? They're in the next movie? Or else Pajama Sam in a can, cause he melted on re-entry during the credits. Till then, good night, and great googly goo girls.